For years, whispers circled the palace. Tensions simmered behind polished smiles. But no one expected it to end like this. Meghan Markle, once the modern symbol of royal evolution, is now officially out. And the catalyst? A shocking truth revealed by Prince William himself. What he exposed didn't just shake the monarchy, it severed ties that many believed were already fragile beyond repair. This wasn't rumor. This was a rupture. The announcement came swiftly, almost clinically, framed as mutual understanding, as inevitable progression, as a natural conclusion to prolonged strain. But beneath the carefully selected words lay something far more volatile. Meghan's departure was not simply a relocation or rebranding, it was final, definitive. Palace insiders described the atmosphere inside Buckingham as heavy, subdued, unsettled. Even those who had predicted distance did not anticipate the bluntness of the break. Because this time, it wasn't driven by vague disagreements or unnamed sources. It followed a revelation. And that revelation came from William. For years, he had remained publicly restrained, diplomatic, protective of the institution's fragile balance. But silence has limits. According to those close to the inner circle, William had reached his threshold. The truth he disclosed was not shouted in anger, nor leaked in desperation. It was presented deliberately, strategically, and at a moment calculated for maximum impact. What he revealed reframed years of speculation, suggesting that fractures within the family were not merely personality clashes, but fundamental differences in loyalty, approach, and long-term vision for the monarchy itself. The contrast between public narrative and private reality had always been stark. On the surface, Meghan represented modernity, progress, and global relevance. Beneath it, however, tension brewed. Cultural collision, institutional rigidity, competing philosophies about transparency and hierarchy. She was the outsider who entered with charisma and conviction, but inside palace corridors, adaptation proved more complex than anticipated. The institution moves slowly, it protects itself fiercely, and it does not bend easily. Meghan's struggle was never subtle. Supporters saw her as progressive and courageous. Critics viewed her as disruptive. But what few understood was how deeply those opposing perspectives penetrated palace relationships. William, as future king, felt the weight of continuity more acutely than anyone. Stability was not optional, it was sacred. And if he believed that internal dynamics threatened that stability, his duty would eventually override diplomacy. What made this rupture so explosive was timing. William's revelation did not emerge impulsively. It surfaced after years of observation, consultation, and quiet calculation. Those who interpret this as sudden underestimate the patience required. The moment had been building long before the public realized it. Every strained interaction, every unspoken disagreement, every divergence in approach added pressure beneath the surface. And when pressure is contained for too long, it does not fade, it fractures. The emotional shockwaves inside the palace were immediate. Shock not because conflict existed, but because it had finally crystallized into consequence. The institution that once promised evolution now faced undeniable division. And as Meghan stepped away, officially and irrevocably, the monarchy found itself confronting uncomfortable questions about identity, loyalty, and adaptation. But to understand why Meghan's departure became unavoidable, we must rewind to the moment Prince William decided silence was no longer an option. There were signs, subtle at first. Separate engagements, carefully worded statements, strategic distance. While the world debated headlines, Prince William was watching, listening, calculating. And behind closed doors, a decision was forming, one that would redefine loyalty, legacy, and the future of the monarchy itself. The shift did not happen overnight. It unfolded gradually, almost imperceptibly, like a crack in marble that widens with pressure. At public events, schedules no longer aligned the way they once had. Appearances that had symbolized unity began to feel choreographed rather than natural. Statements grew more precise, more guarded. Each word weighed not just for diplomacy but for defense. To outsiders, it looked like routine royal management. To William, it signaled something deeper, an imbalance that could not be ignored. The ideological divide became impossible to dismiss. Meghan represented disruption, transparency, a willingness to challenge long-standing structures. William, shaped by years of preparation as heir, embodied preservation, continuity, and disciplined evolution. Neither vision was inherently wrong. But within an institution built on hierarchy and restraint, competing philosophies create friction. And friction, left unresolved, breeds fracture. Internal reports began circulating quietly. Concerns about protocol, disagreements over communication strategy, tension regarding external partnerships and media narratives. These were not explosive scandals, at least not at first. They were patterns. Patterns that William studied carefully. He understood that the monarchy survives not because it reacts quickly, but because it maintains control. And control, he believed, was slipping into ambiguity. Frustration simmered beneath his composed exterior. Not personal animosity, but anxiety over stability. As future king, he could not afford unpredictability within the ranks. Every deviation from established rhythm carried consequence. Every public misalignment fueled speculation. And speculation weakens authority. William's concern was not about headlines, it was about precedent. What happens when boundaries blur? What message does it send to those watching the institution's resilience? Throughout this period, Catherine remained present but measured. She did not engage in overt confrontation. She did not amplify discord. Instead, she observed. She supported William's instinct to pause before reacting. Her steadiness became an anchor amid rising tension. If emotions threatened to cloud judgment, she restored clarity. If pressure mounted, she reinforced patience. Yet even her composure could not erase the growing awareness that something fundamental was shifting. William began gathering what he believed to be undeniable evidence, not dramatic expos, but documented patterns. Conversations, briefings, strategic inconsistencies. He listened to advisors, weighed perspectives, and filtered emotion from fact. The truth he believed he uncovered was not about personality. It was about direction. About whether the monarchy could withstand parallel agendas without eroding its core. This process was not impulsive, it was deliberate. And the longer he waited, the heavier the responsibility became. Because once spoken, such truths cannot be withdrawn. They reshape relationships. They alter trust. They create consequences that ripple beyond immediate impact. William knew that exposing what he saw as instability would not only sever fragile ties, it would redefine his role within the institution. And so he waited, calculated, considered. Until the moment when silence felt more dangerous than revelation. The decision to speak was not fueled by anger. It was driven by conviction that clarity, however painful, was necessary to protect legacy. When William finally spoke, it wasn't an emotional outburst, it was a calculated unveiling. It wasn't shouted, it wasn't leaked, it was delivered with chilling clarity. Prince William laid out a truth that stunned even senior royals. What he revealed redefined the narrative around Meghan's time inside the palace and reframed the fractures as something far deeper than personality clashes. In that moment, the future king didn't just speak as a brother, he spoke as a protector of the crown. Those present described the atmosphere as heavy, almost suspended. William's voice did not tremble, it did not rise. It carried the steady weight of someone who had waited long enough. For years, speculation had circled like fog, rumors of tension, whispers of cultural divides, murmurs of internal discord. But speculation thrives in shadows. William brought it into light, not recklessly but methodically, not emotionally but deliberately. He began by outlining a series of behind-the-scenes conflicts that had never reached the public. Strategic decisions that, in his view, had disrupted carefully coordinated royal messaging, independent communications that bypassed established channels, external partnerships that had not fully aligned with institutional priorities. None of these actions were explosive on their own. But together, he argued, they created instability and unpredictable rhythm within a structure built on cohesion. According to insiders, William emphasized that the issue was never personal resentment. It was structural strain. Meghan's approach, shaped by her background and independent mindset, favored speed and boldness. The monarchy favored caution and layered approval. That tension became more than philosophical, it became operational. And operational tension, William warned, erodes trust faster than disagreement ever could. He spoke of fractured confidence within the inner circle, advisors uncertain about alignment, staff caught between competing directives, a growing sense that parallel strategies were unfolding under the same banner. To William, this was not modernization, it was fragmentation. And fragmentation, if left unchecked, could weaken the institution's authority at its core. The most painful layer of his revelation, however, was the emotional undercurrent involving his brother. Harry had defended Meghan fiercely, interpreting institutional caution as hostility. William, in contrast, interpreted it as protection. Their disagreement hardened over time. Conversations that once flowed easily became strained. Shared purpose gave way to guarded exchanges. The brotherly bond that once felt unbreakable began to splinter under competing loyalties. Senior royals reportedly reacted with visible unease. Some had sensed tension but underestimated its depth. Others had hoped time would soften edges and restore balance. William's clarity removed that comfort. It forced confrontation. It demanded acknowledgement that the fractures were not superficial. They were foundational. Yet William framed his unveiling not as accusation, but as preservation. He stressed that truth, however uncomfortable, was necessary to safeguard continuity. The monarchy survives because it adapts, but adaptation must be unified. In his view, divergent agendas risked eroding the very stability the public depended on. He did not deny Meghan's contributions. He did not dismiss her intentions, but he insisted that cohesion must come before innovation. As his words settled into the room, the weight of implication grew undeniable. If trust had fractured beyond repair, what remained? Could reconciliation occur when foundational alignment was questioned? Or had the tipping point already passed? The silence that followed his statement spoke volumes. No one rushed to contradict him. No one rushed to defend. Because the gravity of what had been revealed demanded reflection. In that moment, William accepted that his decision carried consequence. It would strain familial bonds, it would reshape public narrative, it might even close doors permanently. But from his perspective, preservation required courage. And courage sometimes demands sacrifice. The realization dawned slowly but unmistakably. Reconciliation, at least in its previous form, might no longer be possible. The institution would move forward, but perhaps not together. And as the truth settled like a storm cloud over the palace, Meghan faced a choice that would change everything. For Meghan, the walls were closing in. The narrative she had fought to shape was slipping beyond her control. Prince William's revelations didn't just challenge her reputation, they threatened her place in history. In a monarchy built on endurance, could she withstand the pressure? Or had the final door already begun to close? Behind the guarded gates and measured statements, the emotional impact was immediate. Meghan had weathered criticism before. She had faced relentless headlines, cultural scrutiny, and the silent rigidity of royal tradition. But this felt different. This was not anonymous speculation or tabloid distortion. This was William, future king, placing doubt on her alignment within the institution itself. And that kind of doubt carries weight that cannot be spun away. Those close to her described a mixture of disbelief and resolve. She did not see herself as destabilizing. She saw herself as evolving a centuries-old structure that desperately needed new perspective. Yet perception inside the palace had shifted. Where she believed she brought progress, others saw unpredictability. That disconnect deepened into isolation. And isolation, within an institution built on collective identity, becomes suffocating. The strain extended inevitably to Harry. His loyalty was unwavering, but loyalty comes with cost. Each revelation widened the space between brothers. Conversations grew sharper, silences longer. Harry defended Meghan not only as wife, but as partner in purpose. William defended the crown not only as heir, but as guardian of legacy. Two men shaped by the same childhood now standing on opposite sides of an institutional divide. The emotional weight of that fracture was profound. Outside palace walls, public support surged. Voices championed Meghan as courageous, misunderstood, bold enough to challenge entrenched systems. But inside, that external validation only intensified tension. Because the monarchy does not measure success by applause, it measures it by stability. And stability, in William's view, had been compromised. The more Meghan leaned into independence, the more the institution recoiled into preservation. Faced with that reality, she confronted a painful question. Could she remain within a structure that no longer trusted her rhythm? To stay would mean recalibration. Concession. Acceptance of boundaries she had already struggled against. To leave would mean severing a chapter she once believed could be rewritten from within. Neither path offered ease. One required surrender. The other demanded sacrifice. The rift between the brothers hardened under this pressure. It was no longer a disagreement over communication strategies. It became symbolic, a clash between adaptation and endurance, between reinvention and restraint. Meghan understood that staying inside the palace might require her to quiet the very voice that had defined her identity, and quieting that voice felt like erasure. Departure then began to take shape not only as escape, but as assertion. Framed publicly as empowerment, as reclaiming agency, it carried undertones of exile. Because leaving meant relinquishing influence over the monarchy's evolution. It meant stepping away from a role that once held promise of transformative impact. Empowerment on the outside can still ache like displacement on the inside. The realization settled gradually but firmly. Remaining within the institution might demand too much compromise. And so the choice crystallized. Not explosive, not impulsive, but inevitable. Yet Meghan's exit was not just personal, it triggered a deeper crisis inside the House of Windsor. At the heart of the crisis were two brothers once inseparable. William and Harry had survived grief, scrutiny, and expectation together. Now they stood on opposite sides of a divide neither could easily cross. And as Meghan's future inside the monarchy unraveled, so too did the fragile bond that once defined their strength. There was a time when their unity felt unbreakable. Two young princes navigating loss in the harsh glare of the world's gaze. Two sons bound not only by blood, but by shared memory and silent understanding. They leaned on each other through tragedy, through relentless expectation, through the quiet weight of destiny pressing down from childhood. That bond had been their armor. But armor forged in grief does not always withstand ideological conflict. As adulthood reshaped their roles, their paths began to diverge in ways neither fully anticipated. William stepped deeper into institutional responsibility, absorbing the gravity of future kingship. Harry, driven by instinct and fierce loyalty, carved a path defined by independence and personal conviction. When Meghan entered the picture, that divergence accelerated. To Harry, she was partner and protector. To William, she represented an unpredictable shift in balance within a system that survives on steadiness. Harry's defense of Meghan was unwavering. Every critique felt personal. Every institutional hesitation felt like rejection. He believed he was shielding his wife from forces resistant to change. William, on the other hand, believed he was safeguarding continuity from unintended disruption. Both were certain of their righteousness. And certainty, when unyielding, hardens into confrontation. Conversations that once flowed with ease grew tense. What began as quiet disagreements over communication strategy or protocol evolved into deeper clashes about principle. Heated exchanges unfolded behind closed doors, voices restrained but emotions sharp. Accusations of misunderstanding collided with warnings about consequence. In those private moments, it was no longer simply about Meghan. It was about identity, responsibility, and what it truly means to serve the crown. Catherine found herself positioned delicately between loyalty and neutrality. She understood William's burden intimately, yet she recognized the emotional toll this fracture inflicted on Harry. Her presence often softened the edges of conflict, but even she could not dissolve the widening chasm. The tension seeped into family gatherings, into shared spaces that once felt effortless. Silence replaced laughter, guarded glances replaced ease. The emotional cost was profound. Choosing duty over family is not a theoretical sacrifice, it is lived in quiet hours when doubt surfaces. William carried the weight of defending an institution he was destined to lead. Harry carried the ache of feeling that defense came at the expense of his chosen family. Neither brother set out to wound the other, yet the collision of conviction made wounds inevitable. As Meghan's departure became increasingly likely, the brothers confronted a painful truth. Some fractures do not mend simply because history demands reconciliation. They require alignment. And alignment, in this case, seemed distant. The realization settled slowly, heavy and haunting, that the bond which once anchored them might never return to its former strength. This was not a single argument or one dramatic rupture. It was cumulative, layer upon layer of tension compressing until something had to give. And when it did, it altered not only their relationship but the emotional landscape of the monarchy itself. As tensions escalated, the palace prepared for the inevitable announcement, one that would send shockwaves far beyond Britain. The statement was brief, but its impact was seismic. Meghan Markle was officially out of the royal family. No ambiguity. No half measures. After Prince William's revelation, the separation became irreversible. What followed was not celebration, but a quiet reckoning about what the monarchy had just lost and what it believed it had saved. The palace announcement arrived with deliberate restraint, every sentence polished to precision. It spoke of mutual understanding, of respect for individual paths, of gratitude for service rendered. The tone was calm, almost clinical, yet beneath that calm lay finality. There would be no transitional period, no ceremonial easing of roles. The message was unmistakable. The chapter had closed. And with that closure came an unspoken acknowledgement that reconciliation, at least in its former shape, was no longer possible. Framed as necessary for stability, the departure was positioned as a step toward clarity rather than conflict. The monarchy emphasized continuity, reaffirming its commitment to duty and unity. But the subtext was clear to those who had followed the escalating tension. This was the outcome of accumulated strain, of competing philosophies colliding until compromise became untenable. It was not a single revelation that severed ties, it was the culmination of years, compressed into one decisive act. Across the globe, reactions fractured as sharply as the royal family itself. Some saw the move as preservation of tradition, a reaffirmation of institutional discipline. Others viewed it as resistance to evolution, a missed opportunity for transformation. Supporters of Meghan mourned what they perceived as an exile of modern perspective. Advocates for the crown defended what they called necessary cohesion. The monarchy, accustomed to scrutiny, now faced a different kind of spotlight, one that questioned not just its resilience, but its adaptability. Amid the noise, Harry's emotional strain became increasingly visible. Though statements remained composed, the weight of loss lingered beneath his words. He had chosen loyalty, and loyalty had demanded distance from the institution that shaped his entire life. Watching that institution close ranks without his wife inside it carried a quiet, undeniable ache. The divide between brotherhood and duty felt sharper than ever. Meghan, meanwhile, began reclaiming her narrative beyond palace walls. Outside the monarchy's constraints, she spoke with renewed independence. The framing shifted from rupture to empowerment, yet even empowerment can carry shadows. Departure may signify freedom, but it also marks the end of a role once filled with possibility. The contrast between liberation and displacement hung in the air, unresolved. Inside the palace, unity became the dominant message. William's future reign was reinforced as steady, disciplined, prepared. The institution recalibrated around continuity, emphasizing collective strength over individual divergence. Stability was preserved. But preservation always extracts a cost. And that cost was measured not only in headlines but in fractured relationships and altered futures. In choosing preservation over experimentation, the monarchy signaled its priorities. It chose cohesion. It chose tradition. It chose controlled evolution rather than accelerated change. Whether that choice secures longevity or delays necessary transformation remains uncertain. But the deeper question lingered: had William protected the monarchy, or permanently altered it? History will not remember this moment as a tabloid scandal, it will remember it as a turning point. With Meghan out and William's truth exposed, the monarchy stands recalibrated. But survival always comes at a price. And in preserving tradition, something undeniably shifted within the institution's soul. The immediate storm of headlines has begun to settle, but beneath the surface, the architecture of the monarchy has subtly realigned. What once appeared as internal turbulence has crystallized into a defining decision. The institution did not fracture. It consolidated. It chose a direction and moved forward with measured certainty. That alone has reshaped perception. The crown no longer appears caught in indecision. It appears decisive, even if that decisiveness came through painful rupture. William's role in this transformation cannot be understated. By stepping forward and articulating what he believed to be necessary truth, he signaled more than disagreement, he signaled readiness. The future king demonstrated that he is willing to confront instability directly, even when it intersects with family. That kind of resolve carries weight within royal tradition. It projects strength. But strength exercised internally always carries consequence. In asserting clarity, he revealed the firmness that will likely define his reign. Yet beneath that firmness lies a tension that will not easily dissolve. The monarchy stands at a crossroads between modernization and preservation. Meghan's departure symbolized more than personal incompatibility. It exposed the limits of adaptation within an institution built on continuity. How much can change without eroding identity? How much rigidity can endure without alienating relevance? These questions linger long after the formal statement fades from public memory. Internationally, the discourse remains divided. In some corners, the monarchy's stance is praised as disciplined and necessary. In others, it is criticized as resistant and insular. The global nature of the debate reflects the crown's complex position in a modern world. It is both historic symbol and contemporary actor. Every internal decision now echoes far beyond Britain's borders, shaping perception in ways previous generations of royals could scarcely imagine. Inside palace walls, loyalty has been reaffirmed as the central currency. The cost of that loyalty, however, is steep. It demands alignment over individuality. It prioritizes cohesion over experimentation. Those who stand within its boundaries must accept its rhythm. And when that rhythm clashes with personal conviction, choices become stark. Harry chose loyalty to his wife. William chose loyalty to the institution. Both choices were sincere. Both came with loss. Outside the monarchy, Harry and Meghan are redefining their narrative. Free from royal constraints, they shape their voice without internal oversight. Yet their story will forever remain intertwined with the crown. Separation does not erase origin. It reframes it. The tension between independence and inheritance continues to shape their public identity, just as William's future identity will be shaped by this decisive chapter. What makes this moment historic is not merely the exit itself. It is the recalibration of power, of perception, of purpose. The monarchy did not collapse under strain. It adapted in its own measured way. But adaptation through exclusion leaves residue. It alters relationships. It leaves echoes in memory. And perhaps the most compelling truth is this: the chapter does not feel complete. Decisions of this magnitude ripple forward. They influence future alliances, future narratives, future tests of unity. The institution stands steadier on the surface. Yet beneath that surface, evolution continues. Because in the House of Windsor, departures are never simple endings, they are beginnings of consequences. Prince William's shocking truth did more than push Meghan out, it redefined the balance of power within the monarchy. The future king has drawn a line. But lines create sides, and as history unfolds, the question remains: will this decision be remembered as strength, or as the moment unity was sacrificed for control? In the aftermath of revelation and departure, something unmistakable settled over the royal household. Authority had consolidated. William no longer appeared as the cautious heir navigating internal turbulence. He emerged as a decisive figure willing to act when he believed the institution was at risk. That shift altered the monarchy's internal gravity. Advisors aligned more tightly. Messaging grew firmer. The rhythm of palace operations steadied not because tension vanished, but because direction became unmistakable. Yet emotional residue lingered in the corridors of power. Decisions made in clarity still leave echoes of loss. Family dinners no longer carried the same unguarded ease. Conversations once defined by shared history now required careful navigation. Stability had been preserved, but intimacy had fractured. And fractures, even when strategically necessary, do not disappear overnight. They settle quietly into memory, shaping future interactions in subtle, irreversible ways. Beyond the palace gates, Meghan's narrative began transforming in real time. Outside the monarchy's framework, her voice amplified with renewed independence. She became symbol and lightning rod, simultaneously representing empowerment to some, disruption to others. The contrast sharpened. Inside the crown stood tradition and continuity. Outside it stood autonomy and reinvention. That duality ensured the story would not fade. It evolved. Harry's position remains the most complex of all. Bound by birth to the institution and by loyalty to his wife, he stands in a space defined by dual allegiance. His silence speaks volumes. His appearances carry undertones of conflict. He has chosen partnership over protocol, yet that choice does not erase heritage. It intensifies it. The emotional calculus he navigates daily reflects the broader tension between individual conviction and inherited duty. Public perception continues to evolve. Some view William's firmness as necessary strength, the mark of a future sovereign who will not hesitate in defense of stability. Others question whether unity was sacrificed in pursuit of control. Loyalty, once assumed to be unwavering within royal walls, is now examined with sharper scrutiny. In a modern world where transparency is demanded and tradition revered, the monarchy walks a narrow line between respect and rigidity. What remains undeniable is that the institution stands intact. Its ceremonies continue. Its symbolism endures. Its authority, at least outwardly, remains unshaken. But it is not unchanged. Power reveals itself most clearly in crisis, and this crisis has illuminated the hierarchy with unfiltered clarity. William has stepped forward not merely as successor, but as stabilizer. That evolution will shape his reign long before the crown formally rests upon his head. And so the legacy of this moment will not be measured solely by Meghan's exit or William's declaration. It will be measured by what follows, by whether unity can be reimagined, by whether loyalty can coexist with evolution, by whether preservation and progress can eventually find common ground. Because in royal history, the most devastating battles are rarely fought on battlefields, they're fought in truth. And this truth may echo for generations. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.